I'm Sasha.
And this has been the Chaos Twins. Hey.
Stop.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Oh.
Cheers to this midweek celebration.
Cheers to you. Do you see what this says? I want to focus in on what that says.
Nick, one more Walker.
This is from,
one more what?
Well, see, that's
Drank?
the thing. Well, see, that's the thing. This was given to me at a time in my life when I was known.
Who you were.
This was who I was. This was six years ago. Was the end of the crest of this is who I am. This is no longer who I am. I'm not this guy anymore. This doesn't exist anymore. I'm not that guy. Not that
Peer
guy.
pressure. That's easy to believe.
Peer pressure is super.
The date on that is 2015, I think I saw. So this wasn't so long ago.
The end of the crest. That's why I said the end of the crest. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Hey, Paige. Yeah. Hey, Colleen. Hey, Cuddy.
Hey, everybody. Everybody's
What's up,
here.
Y'all? Hey. So I didn't
happy.
think this through because I poured the tequila on top of the fruit smoothie, and now all the tequila is just sitting atop the fruit substance.
Amazing. Yeah, you didn't think that through at all. That's really trash. That's not good. Does it taste good? You're still gonna drink it though. Oof! I don't like that face.
Hallelujah.
Jesus.
That's very strong. It's truly all tequila. Nikki
all
Watts,
tequila.
how you doing? How you living? How's it going?
I'm good. I just want, I wanted to celebrate for a second because, so guys, everyone who's joining us, this is our season finale. Season finale. Jesus Christ. Season finale. I don't like what Sasha's doing. But I wanted to celebrate a year of doing this shit. Basically almost a year of us doing this. It's been a long time, and I also want to celebrate, the fact how much closer this thing. Oh, thank you, Helen. That really means a lot.
Thanks, Helen.
How much closer this thing has brought us together and has brought Beyonce Britt into the circle or in our studio.
You see that fancy background, this like confetti looking like situation?
It's Beyonce Britt.
It wasn't me or Nick. Me and Nick did not do that.
We didn't do that. We don't have that capability.
It is. We've grown a lot closer as friends. Yes, because usually we just relied on we relied on chaos to bring us together. Pure chaos.
It was like
pure chaos. The chaos of Broadway, which we will get to.
We're gonna get to today. I do want to start off. I want to, and if that's why y'all are here to see what we have to say about the chaos of Broadway, well, welcome, and we'll talk. But I do want to. Oh, good.
Sorry,
Lord.
I was singing earlier, and I appear to be very warm. So
you are you're warmed up, as that's testing the mic. I do want to shout out really quickly. It's so dumb. I do want to shout out really quickly something that's also dumb, but I think that means a lot. It means a lot to me. So this is what I just opened up. Always Sunny in Philadelphia is the 29th best sitcom of all time, and I want to just. You were
just on your phone while we were starting the show, and that came up.
No, I found that. That's actually called a screenshot, Sasha. Called a screenshot, and I found it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So
Yeah, go ahead, Sasha.
You're supposed to send those to Beyonce Britt because then you're going back to old times.
I know.
Which is the year and it's the season finale, and that's fine. But we have come up in the world.
I understand that.
Just a little bit.
Beyonce Britt, I'm so sorry that I did not send it, but
this man just held his phone up to the camera.
I just found it maybe 5 seconds before we went on.
While we were prepping to come on.
During the title sequence, I found that.
Okay.
And I screenshotted it to share.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Also, I just want to point out that it really doesn't matter because my camera is so nice.
Ew.
Like, do you know what I mean? Look at that composition. It's beautiful.
Nick.
But I just want to shout out. It's not an official tag him or anything like that. I did want to shout out. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because they have been going for 15 seasons, y'all. They're the longest running sitcom in the history of television, and they are still as funny as season 1. And I just love them. It's a long time. So yeah, I'm just shouting them out. But yeah, Sasha, how are you doing? How you going today?
All right, should we secure the perimeter?
We absolutely can.
Let's nail it. Let's do it.
Secure the perimeter. Secure the perimeter.
How did you secure a perimeter today, Sasha?
First of all, I want to tell you that I have not eaten today, and the hot sauce that is on this delicious pizza is providing me with a very secure perimeter.
I love that.
The other thing that I've done, I think, over the course of basically, I am making a list of things that I can and will commit my time to. That are like my go-tos, just like, these are like no-brainers. This is important to you. It's the work that you do. You love it. It's either something that's networking or something that's fulfilling or something that's paying. Like, it's those things, right? And then separating out, like truly sifting through the things that I may love, but I don't always have the bandwidth for. They don't always give me the same ROI on my time. And then, that I will, just so that I can see it. So there's like, if there's an extra moment, if there's an extra breath, I can invite that into my life. But I know that, it's not something that I can stress about, because it actually takes away from the things that I do prioritize.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's been good, because I like to say yes to everything. I mean, I think we are similar on this as well, that we always have something to say as well. I always have a thought or opinion to share, but really getting clear on how and when that comes out and where I want to engage my time and energy and focus. Very clarifying for me, honestly. Lots of peace. I'm about to get really rigorous with it. So sorry, you guys, got some no's coming your way.
Got some no's. That's beautiful.
But they're with love.
Yeah, no's. As long as you are being real to yourself, that is all that matters. All that matters. I love that. What
about you, my friend?
Sasha, I am blocking out the 10th. So I'm in finals week this week for NYU for my professorship. And those classes end on the 10th. And the
Professor
10th
Nikki walks.
Oh God, I hate that. That's completely acceptable to call me. But my classes end on the 10th, and as of the 10th, from the 10th to the 17th, you will not find me. Well, you will find me. You will find me, and Britt will find. I'll text you just as friends. But I will not be found by any such work things.
You will be found.
No, opposite.
You will not be found.
Accurate. That's the thing. That's where we're going with that. 180 on that. I will not be found.
Dear Nikki Walks. Dear Nick Walker.
Let me just break my arm really quick and get a cast. Get a cast and show up. Yo, tangent. I gotta say, I don't see a lot of musicals. Like I don't. And my buddy was in that show, and I finally saw that show. That show kind of slaps.
I love that show. It was great.
I was very surprised. I was like, oh my God.
The music was fantastic.
This is brilliant. There's a lot of powerful shit happening on that stage.
Did you see Ben?
That. I did not see Ben. I did not. I saw Jordan.
Oh wow. I would have loved that.
Yeah, it was
I remember seeing Ben. It was at what's the one off Broadway?
Second Stage.
That place. Yeah, it was at Second Stage. Second Stage? Yeah, Second Stage. I was like, how is he going to do this 8 times a week? Like, how is that even possible?
How? Good Lord.
How can you sing that? It was insane. I was like, but I love seeing shows like that, because it is like, like there's a comfort you get with like your show, like, and you sit into a nice pocket, and then you can kind of like, not chill, but like you just know it. It's fitting like a better leather jacket. And then there's this thing that's happening like when it's first up on its feet, and you're just trying to figure out how the whole thing fits.
Yes.
And I love watching actors like work through that and like sometimes go too hard and maybe not go hard. Like I just love seeing like a little bit of that. It's like college football.
It's the exact that honestly, it's like playing a sport. It's what is the calibration, right? When do you gun it? When do you pull back? All of this, by the way, is very apropos to where we're going to get in our conversation later in this thing.
We're circling the drain.
We're circling the drain until we get right into it. But yeah, I loved it. But my point is, securing my perimeter. I'm going off the grid. I'm blacking out my dates. I'm not available for anything that I don't want to be available for.
I need to follow you off the edge of that cliff, honestly.
Please come with me.
Let's just like.
I had a moment. We're all family here. I'm comfortable saying this. I had a kind of a breakdown, on Sunday. I really got into a dark place Sunday morning, and I was just like, and I realized how tired I was, and also how self-concerned I was. I was it was a lot of thoughts about self, and that's never good when you're overanalyzing self. You gotta get out, and you gotta live and just enjoy as much as you can in this crazy world. So blackout dates. That's how I'm
blackout dates. I love it. Now, before we get to our thing, because that is, I think your engagement, we'll talk a little bit more about why that was necessary, where that burnout came from, because I think it's really relevant to like some of the stuff we do want to wrestle with today. Is there anything else that we want to get to? Is there anything else you want to talk about, or just...
No, I don't know. I was gonna, at the end of this, I have a question for you at the end of this. We'll come back to it. Yeah, we'll come back to it, but it's not now. Okay. It's not now.
It's not now. Okay,
it's not now.
It might be now, but it's not now.
No,
so
it's not now.
Should we get to it? Should we start? Should we dive in to the chaos? Oh, no, we had to tag them. We need to tag them.
Oh, you have a tag them. That's exactly right.
That's right.
That's what it was.
This is the tag them. Somebody who's doing the work.
Activism, community service, arts in action, and or otherwise. Who is making their corner of the world a better place?
Place, all caps.
Place.
Who's our tag them, Nick?
I mean, it's Will. It's Will Smith.
Yo, what's been it on you?
My days.
He's been chilling out Max and relaxing.
You've been chilling Max.
Clearly.
But can I tell you why Will Smith is our... Stop it. Let me tell you why Will Smith is our tag him, okay? I am so... we go to these movies, especially for me. I go to the Marvel movies all the time, right? That's like my bread and butter. I watch these movies and I'm obsessed. And we do not understand. I think that, because these people, these beautiful people with their beautiful bodies are inundated in our faces every day in every way. I think that we don't understand that, it's easy to forget. I'll say this for myself. Studios pay them millions of dollars to look like that.
That's crazy.
Think about that. Like the looks that we are like, oh my God, that's just, why can't I look like that? Because you're not being paid millions of dollars by a studio to do it. The things that are necessary to have that kind of body. Like if you look at Chris Hemsworth right now, if you pull him up in Thor, look at a picture of that man in any Thor movie, it's out of control.
Yeah.
Chris Evans, same thing. All the Chris's out of control, but it's like,
out of control.
Chris's are out of control, but like there's a lot that went into that. There's like a fully regimented thing that went into that. Yeah. And so why I tag Will Smith is like, again, I think that this, he's doing something where he's out there, kind of tracking his fitness journey to get back to his goals.
Yeah. This was his caption. His caption for the photo was, I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm in the worst shape of my life. Followed by another post, which you should go peep his Instagram, which says, this is the body that carried me through an entire pandemic and countless days grazing through the pantry. I love this body, but I want to feel better. No more midnight muffins. This is it. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, in all caps. Teaming up with YouTube to get my health and wellness back on track. Hope it works.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Which is fantastic. And again, he's teaming up with YouTube. I'm pretty sure it will work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure
if Nick and I teamed up with each other to get in the best shape of our lives, like, it would result in pizza.
It would, in fact, we'd be doing what we're doing now, which is drinking whiskey and eating pizza and living that kind of life. But I just love that we're putting that journey out there, because it's like, yeah, Will Smith, absolutely, his body is no different than your body. It goes through the same things, dips and dives. And there's a quote from Passing Strange, the musical Passing Strange, which is, by the way, outside of Sweeney Todd, is my favorite musical of all time. Passing Strange. There's a quote that's paraphrasing here, but it's my body and I got to wear it like a gown.
Oh, I love that.
And that's it. Like, it's no matter what it looks like, where it's at, that's yours, and you got to love it. And if you want to feel better, absolutely. If you want to feel better, if you want to be a little healthier, absolutely. But like the idea that we need to be ashamed of wherever our body's at in the moment. Yeah. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. We're done with that. Yeah.
So I think that's so powerful too, what he said about, like, this is the body that got me through a pandemic. And I think it's like for everyone, like, look around and look, you're the body, you are the mind, you are the combination of molecules and atoms and all sorts of things that were able to survive in more ways than one. Yes. A global pandemic, and we're still in it, and we're still here, like, you know, dealing with it. But I do think that's something because it's been hard.
It's been hard.
It's been a long year.
Which I think brings us to what we want to talk about. I think it does. And this is kind of our meat and potatoes. Our guest today is Broadway.
Welcome.
Welcome to Broadway.
And our topic is social media justice.
I love that. What a great topic.
Shots fired. Oh no.
And I want to say this is a conversation. So I posted, previous to us having this conversation on the Chaos Twins, I posted a multi-picture post on my Instagram, and I also tweeted it out with some questions that I wanted to ask. And these are truly we're not here to light fires. We're just here to ask.
Look at these faces. Come on.
But it really is something that I've been thinking about a lot, because I've been seeing a lot of posts, and I know you have too, Sasha, just of a lot of varying opinions on what this thing is and how we bring it back, and what we need to do to bring it back in the way that we want it back, and even the way we want it back. All these things vary across people, platforms, coalitions, and so I wanted to. Let me be very clear. I have no desire to lend my opinion to that discussion on this program. What I want to do, I want to process this information for myself and with one of my dearest friends. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's process, because I just have questions. I have questions.
You do, and that's kind of how you started. And so we talked about securing the perimeter, and that you've had like a rough weekend. Had like a moment with yourself that may have involved some intense emotions and actions, maybe anger, maybe frustration, maybe I did inquire as to whether you had broken anything. You said, no, everything I threw was plastic. So safety first. But then I said to you, Nick, well, you have been engaging with people, with thoughts, and with the platform of social media head first, like directly, like calling, and not just like, you tweet, you're very active, and you tweet and you post and you do, and you're live and you do all the things. I don't do that stuff a lot. But you're very engaged. You're engaged with your followers, like, very well. And, but also, like, you were calling people. You were calling people up, talking to them offline, one-on-one, like, what's good, like asking questions, which I think is a wonderful way to approach, complicated situations, right? Ask questions first. If you don't agree with somebody, if something they say is maybe not exactly how you would think of it or put it, you ask more questions, say more about that. Can you explain? I love Tanya during our Black Lady Magic. She was like, what do you mean by that? And then just wait and breathe It's so good because it's just like, it's a lot and we're all going through a lot and we've been siloed off, which I think is like the worst combination of like circumstances for trying to like relate or like with people about complex things on social media. Cause not only are we all stuck in like our own apartments with our own group of friends, but then when you start to go to this platform that, as you've said before, and many have, it's not built for really this kind of engagement or nuance. It never has been. Like, let's be honest, like before there was Facebook, before there was Instagram, Twitter, and all these things, there were like these message boards that would like go, that were insane, and they still exist. There were chat rooms and, you know, IMs and all that stuff. So it's just like, it's never been the platform, Fergie. The platform in itself is a shallow in concept and execution.
It's so
Have you seen The Social Network? Like, it's just like the founding, like the foundation for this is just like white men trying to get dates and like rating who's hot or not. Like, what are we even doing?
It's true. It's true. There's no way around that. There's no way around that. And by the way, if you're a Broadway actor and you ever want to feel really shitty about yourself, go do the mistake of looking yourself up on a Broadway message board. Like, and it's not, and I say that with all love for Broadway message boards. It's not about that. It's just like opinions are everywhere. It's built for opinions.
Yeah.
And so everybody, and like people will make sure, especially when it's a detracting opinion, that it is heard loud and clear, right? Yeah. That will happen inevitably. You know, and it's, so again, it's not the space in itself. It's the when there is something that is meant to hurt or meant to negatively affect, that shoots through loudest. That shoots through loudest often. And my question is why? That's a question that I have, is why does that ring so loud and so true? There was a so I was on the subway like a while back, and I'm gonna see if I can find this quote, because it's just occurring to me. This quote that I came upon. I was riding the subway, like I think this was like pre-pandemic possibly, and this kid who was on the subway with me, he was doing some sort of like I feel like he was one of the Showtime kids, and he was doing he was doing a dance.
Here, find your quote. I'm gonna say so we were like, Nick and I are circling a drain of like, there's a lot going on in the Broadway community because we have been shut down. There's just news that New York is opening May 19th, but that will not be like Broadway stages. I think a few theaters have had like different kinds of shows. Like there are some like protocols and regulations out, but it's just a massive event. Like live theater, especially in New York, because it's not even just about like, how do you get people in the theater? It's like, how do you get people to New York City, right? Like tourists have to come and fly and stay in hotels and eat dinner places and then come and then sit in a seat with like, 1,000 other people and watch a show and breathe the same air for 3 hours in very old theaters that have not been renovated. Air systems have not been, there's a lot going on. So it's just like this massive machine to start back up. And honestly, what are priorities for the different parties involved are not all on the same page. So we'll see like what happens there. But in the meantime, I think, given what this past year has been, given what brought Nick and I together online was there's been a lot of reckoning around race and social justice and not and then extending to gender and identities and like just a lot of things and just really trying to, extend that out to what does it mean to make spaces where everyone feels safe and included, and not just safe and included, but empowered to be brave and to be bold and to be their full selves, right? Like people are fighting for themselves and they're fighting for their communities and for what they want to see. And a lot of this question started bubbling months ago of like, well, how do you want to go back? What will it look like when we go back? And this idea that there was work we could do within the industry, that maybe there was work we could do while we're not back up, right? Like while we're dark, that there's work that we can have, conversations that can be had between different parties and groups and players And they've been, those conversations are, being had. I think what people are saying, it's escalated to like boycotts and not paying dues and to a lot of other things of like protests. Like, how do you put your thumb on the nerve center for the change that you want, right?
Yes.
And I think what people have found, which is fair and good, and like it's just, and also frustrating, is that it's not clear.
No.
There's no easy answer.
It's the furthest from clear. And in fact, anybody who says they have an answer is wrong. We don't have an answer. There's no answer. Like that I think is the biggest thing, the biggest red flag to me is any this needs to be this. And that's just for me. I'm not saying that's a universal, but for me, that's a red flag, because you're talking about Broadway is a microcosm of a country. The country is fucked up, and thusly Broadway is fucked up. The country is capitalist, and thusly Broadway is capitalist. So the things that we could do to address Broadway will all to some extent be aesthetic changes, incremental changes. And that's not wrong.
And almost like experiments. Like tests, like turning the knobs to see what works, but it's also like like you're saying, like recognizing the interconnectedness of our economy, our industry, our social structure with everything else that's going on, and why things are the way they are.
Yes.
Really not being simple about that. Really being like, follow the rabbit trails or whatever those are, rabbit holes, trails, something. It's like this in my brain. Like it's just like there's a million directions you could go to follow why something is the way that it is. And it's depressing and terrible.
And true. Agree completely. It's true. And the moment that we think it's simple, my thing is, can we push our minds a little further?
Simple is safe.
Simple is safe.
Simple is safe. Simple makes you feel safer more immediately because, and I will say that's a part of like cancel culture, which I hate that term and I hate the idea of it, and that for several reasons. And when people a while ago, somebody was like, cancel culture is white. Some wise Black friend of mine. It wasn't me. I didn't say it, but I believed it when I heard it. Like, cancel culture is probably iffy. I'm not going to attribute that to her, but she's a friend of the show, and like it sounds like some things she would say. But like for the record, I don't remember if it was her. But cancel culture is white. Like, we don't do that. Like, and I will say this, I'll prove it. Cancel culture is white supremacy because cancel culture is prison. Cancel culture is you committed a crime, so now you go away forever. You're canceled. Your life is canceled. Your ability to vote is canceled. Your ability to speak is canceled. Your ability to, apply for certain jobs is canceled. Homes, canceled. Your life is canceled. That's cancel culture. So that's where cancel culture started, right? Like that, if you want to look at like, what does it really look like on a grand scale, what that's not social media, that's it. So I don't subscribe to that. I think that it's harmful, and I don't care which direction it's going. When I see it employed, I say, no, that's not the direction I'm planning to go. That is not the direction I want my life to go. That is not how I try to treat people in my life. Now, trust, and you know this, there are people in my life that I do not engage, that I do not, unsubscribe. But at the same time, they're not canceled. It's just, further away.
I want to put this to you. To you. Something I'm not trying. Please understand. I'm not trying to start a fire, but I feel
yes, you are. It's fine. I can see the flame. It's fine. But come on, bring it. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Scott Rudin. Scott Rudin. If the behaviors that he was accused of exhibiting, were absolutely atrocious. Have no place in any work environment at all. And no. Scott Rudin needs to be held to task for that. Scott Rudin also employed 3 or 4 of my best friends. Scott Rudin made shows happen. there is space for both those things. Both those things are true.
Yeah.
Both of them are true. So I hold space for people who want to say, get Scott Rudin out. I hear that. And I understand that. I also make space for people who say, I'm not a celebrity.
I still want my job.
I want my job.
Yeah.
I want my job.
It was the thing that I've said to you about Tyler Perry. And people are like, he should leave Atlanta. And I said, no, he should not.
No.
How many Black people does that man employ? Find another way, find another way, to step into the fight. But like, it doesn't look like one thing. Continue what you were saying.
And that is my thing, is as soon as the answer becomes simple, question the answer. Question the answer. Yeah. All the pieces matter. And this goes back to what I wanted to say. The kid on the subway said, because somebody, they got kicked off the subway. This is the Showtime kid that I'm talking about. And his friend was like, man, why are people always so negative about this? And he was like, because when it's negative, it's more catchable for the mind. And I thought that was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard in my life. When it's negative, it's more catchable for the mind.
That's interesting.
That doesn't mean that negativity has no place.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is negativity will always be louder. That doesn't mean it's the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't have the fucking answer. I don't. Sorry, I swore. I don't have the answer. But I know that the answer is not the first thing, because if the answer was the first thing, then I swear to God, my marriage would have been over 3 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
I would
you
not
use
I
that
would
as
not
a
have,
rule. I hear you say that a lot. You say it as a writer. You're like, the first idea is never the best one.
Ever really. It's the instinct that it came from.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Right? Because you know there's something you want to do.
Yeah.
You know there's something you want to fix here.
So good. The instinct is correct.
The
rage is correct. Right? The anger is correct.
Be angry. And use that anger. And say that anger loudly.
Yeah.
Like, don't let anyone box in your head. Like that's why I say I'm not starting fires. Do not let anyone box in your anger. Ever. Your anger is real, and it comes from a place. Are you hurting someone else, and are you hurting yourself?
Yeah. That's
my question. And the moment you are, I have, and even if you're not going to ask questions, I have questions. And I don't know the answers to those questions, but I reserve the right to ask questions because I don't understand. I've been so angry. Go. I've
been talking about this, like I said I was going to bring up this quote, just thinking about Black people and anger and rage, which is a lot of where this centers around. It's where we started last year. So it was an impetus for the dialogue that we've been having and that we have over this show. And a lot of what you and I kind of tackle, right, is like, how do we have conversations around really hard things in a way that invites like processing and, people's thoughts and being included and encourages like thought and doesn't make people feel afraid to engage, even if we vehemently disagree. Nick really wants to invite like a white supremacist on the show, and I won't let him.
I do. I really do.
I say no every time, but
I really do.
We'll figure. I said maybe we can start like maybe not so far away from like where because again. But I've said this to you again, Nick. I was like, I am all about engaging people who want to create something better. So people feel like if I disagree with the way that you want to go about that, the most like conservative of the conservative, if they really believe that what they're doing will create a better world for everyone, I will talk to that person for my whole life. We'll never agree, but I will continue to talk to that person because the intention, like you said, the instinct, the intention to create good is there. If I trust that that's there, then I will entertain a lot of things. But what I won't entertain is someone that I feel like is the instinct is destructive. So when we talk about terrorism, white supremacy, all of those things, like when we talk about Proud Boys, I'm like, nah, because the instinct is off. Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, we don't actually agree on the same reality. Okay, so anyway, this is James Baldwin. This quote's very popular and it's been around and around and around. But it was during a radio interview, and he was asked about being Black and being a writer. And the quote starts with, "To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a state of rage almost all of the time, and in one's work. And part of the rage is this. It isn't only what is happening to you, but it's what's happening all around you and all of the time in the face of the most extraordinary and criminal indifference. Indifference of," oh my God, I thought I saw a mouse. It was just a dish towel. Oh, Jesus. I don't even have mice in this apartment, but like I just was like something large is moving beneath my feet.
It was. I'll tell you what it was. It was the word. It was the world. The ground is shifting. As you read this quote. Keep going.
Okay. In the face of the most extraordinary and criminal indifference of most white people in this country and their ignorance. Now, since this is it's a great temptation to simplify the issues under the illusion that if you simplify them enough, people will recognize them. I think this illusion is very dangerous because, in fact, it isn't the way it works. A complex thing can't be made simple. You simply have to try to deal with it in all its complexity and hope to get that complexity across.
Absolutely.
Which is also interesting, Nick, because you always see this quote online, but it never goes through the whole thing to complexity.
Oh no, it never. That's the thing. And this is I think comes back to your original point about social media justice. Social media, as we said, was not built for nuance. So when we put these posts out, context is so important, is so key. That's my belief. That's my belief, right? I'm not going to put anything out without context for the thing. Mm-hmm. For me, because I'm like, I just know that there's no world in which I have these answers. There's no world. Right. There's actually no world.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure it out.
We're just trying to figure out. So this goes back to the second question that I posed in the thing. Right. It was the first. It was the value of the proportional response. And this is a question that I truly don't know. Right. The virtue of the proportional response. West Wing quote.
Oh, somebody asked. I posted a thing. I'm gonna pause here. Just for a liner note that somebody asked on Instagram. I posted a thing, and they were like, "Do you have a fun story about Lynn?" And I was like, everybody always asks that, and I was like, But then I want you to know that her name, her handle is Fuck Vaseline. And so fuck Vaseline. Just because your handle is amazing. Fun stories. Well, a fun story that's been on the social is that Nick, Lynn, and I are rewatching The West Wing together. And we meet up on Sunday and or Monday nights. We FaceTime to talk about 2 episodes a week. And we just recap them like some nerds. It's awesome.
It's literally the most nerdy. And like, I'm a nerd. Like, y'all, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
You understand? But it's the most nerdy thing I've ever done, but it's beautiful. And it's gotten me through this pandemic.
So good.
But
West Wing, proportional response.
Proportional response. But that's why I say it, because my thing is, right, we get to these places and if we are stepping out into the world with an opinion, people are going to disagree, and people are going to say shit that's going to piss us off. People are going to make us mad. People are, in fact, without knowing, going to encroach on our space.
And on top of the things that people have already done to action, like it's not just right. It's not just the words. The words are because of actions that we are living under and with. And yeah. Go ahead.
And this is why I ask it, because I had a friend who I was texting with, who was talking about. I asked him, about all this, and his response was to say, well, I'm less concerned about like, the infighting, or like, I don't understand why you, and he's of an older generation, but he's like, I don't understand why you youngins are calling out all these, calling out each other for doing this and saying this, because really the focus is up there. And yes, we can chew gum and walk at the same time, but like, we got to know which is which. Here's my thing. Until we figure this shit out, that shit doesn't matter. The Avengers don't fight Thanos until they're back together as the Avengers. It doesn't fucking happen. I'm sorry to bring that in. I know Sasha's going.
No, you're not.
I'm not
He's
sorry.
He's not sorry about talking about the Avengers. No, you're not.
But secure your own oxygen mask before you assist the child next to you. If we're not secure, then what the hell is going to happen when we go to these people who we say are the ultimate end game? If we're not secure, if we're not together, if we're not solid, they will break us apart, because that, my friends, is what capitalism does.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. Well, capitalism is like, and this idea that there is an individual, this idea that you are a number, you're a social security, like you are a person, you are separate and from me and from us and from them and from this plant and from like that we're separate, that like I'm existing and I need my space, right? Like my space, and it should never be encroached upon by somebody else, because I think that in itself is like, well, it's probably going to happen just because we are all living in this, but it's okay to say to someone, ooh, you stepped on my toe, before they stab you in the side. Like, it's very, then that's not, please don't encroach on like my vital organs, but like the likelihood, like think about living in a city like New York and why the pandemic was so hard. It's because of the way that we live with each other. It's because of the shape and the structure of our community. And not all of that is bad. Like, we could have burned down New York City and killed the pandemic, but it's not the Middle Ages and it isn't the plague. Like, we know better.
And the critical thought to know, when are you stepping on my toe and when are you stabbing me in the side? Because both happen.
Yeah.
Both happen, but a proportional response to me is virtuous. There is virtue.
Why is it virtuous? Why?
Why? Because it assumes the best of whoever I'm with. That's why. Because I am hurt. I'm a Black kid who grew up in a white ass town. When I say I'm hurt, ladies and gentlemen, I am hurt. I am hurt to my core. I don't know how to fix it sometimes. It bubbles up in ways that I can't control. But the one thing that I try to practice, and I'm not saying I'm an expert at it. Sasha and Beyonce Britt can tell you, I'm not an expert at it by any means. But the one thing I try to do is say, before I pop off, I owe it to myself to take the breath, because getting angry is tiring. It's exhausting. I'm tired.
And it's harmful to your own body.
Yes.
So I was like pulling, and this is another poem that I really love. And I didn't look up how to say her name. I think it's Nayyirah Waheed. Nayyirah Waheed, I believe that's the way to say her name. You see, they're very Instagrammable, like social media poems, which is how I found them. So what you've said, that was like, no, social media is not bad. Like, it's a way to get information out. It's a way during protests that protesters are able to say like what's really happening in real time, while not relying on like news reports or other things. So there's like really great, when we talk about social media justice, which we thought was cute, and maybe it makes somebody mad, but whatever. But there are things about social media that like, don't really serve the entire movement as well. But in speaking about like community and the proportional response and assuming the best, this poet has this, this poem goes, if we wanted to, people of color could burn the world down for what we have experienced, are experiencing, but we don't. How stunningly beautiful that our sacred respect for the earth, for life, is deeper than our rage. Now, this is a pretty poem, right? And it's really beautiful. And it's easy to say when you're not in the middle of the rage, right? And it's like kind of the thing that you would look at and be like, it's the way on Martin Luther King Day that we're like, white people, don't you pasting this because y'all killed him, okay? Y'all killed him. So at the end of his life, he had the lowest approval rating that he'd ever had. He was assassinated. People said he brought it on himself. So this is not to calm rage, I think, or to make rage sound pretty. But to me, it's just like, how much, if the anger, if the suffering is that great, and we know that it is and has been for so long, and it's just, it's overwhelming to even begin to consider. It's why lots of people aren't woke, or like, weren't like, however many years ago, and now they're reading books and trying to be anti-racist. It's like, because it's not a good thing to look at. It's not an easy thing to look at or observe, much less like allow like to be in your, understand how it's built into your cellular like makeup, right? But if the rage is that big, and yet we haven't collectively, and yet there's so much things we've been talking about, like this season, Black joy, Black excellence, Black beauty, Black, like, and we can have all of those things. To me, like when people talk about Black girl magic, like that is what it is. It's just that somehow I am connected to something, a truth that is so much deeper than white supremacy and so much bigger than these things, that I have been talking to you a lot about, you know, the proportional response being because it assumes the best, because we are in community with each other. And I started saying before we came on today, which I hadn't really thought about in this way, but as usual, like our conversations always like bring up interesting things. And I was saying, you know, I've been in this industry for 10 years. I've been on Broadway for 10 years, which is a blessing and insane. I've done mostly shows with people of color. But I've also done some revivals and other things that were, you know, mixed or predominantly white cast. I've also said, you know, just because it's a Black show doesn't mean it's a Black space. Like those are two different things. Yes, usually, and most of the time, it's always been a white space. Like I've never really been in a Black. I've been in Blacker spaces, but it, you know, I said, you know, I was on stage. I was in a show when the verdict for Trayvon Martin or for George Zimmerman, his trial, when that came down. For the murder of Trayvon Martin. I was on stage, like, you know, in some form or fashion with Hamilton during the summer of 2016, when Philando Castile and Elton Sterling and all, you know, I was doing the Tonys when the Pulse nightclub shooting, you know, like that happened. Like I can't actually pull apart what has like inspired me to be active and be a member in this community from my Broadway experiences, just in that I was usually doing some sort of version of something within this industry. You know, I was on stage when Donald Trump was being elected. Like I was doing, what was the show? With Sutton Foster? Sweet Charity. Hey, Sweet Charity. Was doing Sweet Charity, you know what I mean? Like, or we're watching these results come down and I'm having this like breakdown about what my country really is, because how could this man be elected while I'm on stage singing, you know, Big Spender and crying at weddings? Like, it was just like, I can't erase these things, but it's also theater is how I've also engaged with this. And it's led to my belief that what we can create in community together is better than what we create in our silos or like my one opinion, and that theater is the place where we get to wrestle with these ideas and do it hopefully safely. Hopefully we get to break rules with each other and just experiment with something else, with all the what ifs of like, and so it's about being creative about what social justice looks like. That social justice is, we have to create this thing and we have to do it together because it's actually never existed. The thing that we want, what we want society to look like, has never existed. And so again, theater has brought me to, you know, friendship with someone who's been a guest on our show several times, Ifeoma Ike, and she has a company called Pink Cornrows that I've started consulting with. They don't necessarily refer to it as EDI, it's social impact, but, you know, there's equity, diversity, inclusion is a big thing that's going around. But they talk about things like equity, culture, and leadership, which is about how do you change the whole space? And it's based on this idea of transformative justice, which I also love, and I'll read a short definition. Transformative justice is a liberatory approach to violence, which seeks safety and accountability without relying on alienation, punishment, or state or systemic violence, including incarceration or policing. So this is it's much used in reference to mass incarceration, crime, and how we regulate our society when harm is done. Because harm is done. But the focus of transformative justice is to look at the systems that allow that harm to happen and to create solutions that allow both parties, the person who's been done harm, who has been harmed, and the person who is causing harm, that it benefits both of those people to be better, right? Which is really hard because it doesn't focus on alienation, cancel culture. It doesn't focus on punishment, which is just like, you should never work in this business again. You should never do that. And then sometimes that is necessary. Like, so it's not saying that, like, sometimes it's not that it's never necessary. It's just saying that we have to be the example of what we want to see. So what you said about getting our stuff together in our community, if we're treating each other like this, then how do I trust you to create with me a system that's better than what they're already doing? How do I do that? How do I trust you? If I can't speak to you, if we can't even be an example of what it's supposed to look like, if my interactions with you feel the same as my interactions with somebody else who is my oppressor, how am I supposed to find my way forward with someone who's saying they're my ally, and yet I don't feel fully capable of voicing myself in their presence? And it's just, we are in community. And I've really been happy to be working with Pink Cornrows and just honestly learning in the sessions and seeing how they approach things, because it really, when she's like, we're in community, we have to recognize that like, we work together, we're in life together. So my justice might not look like what I want it to look like because of the harm you've caused me. But we have a thing here that on some level we love. So can we make it better without burning it down? And can you commit to that idea? And what if you commit to that idea? What if? And that doesn't mean your anger doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that the harm that was done to you goes away. It just means that you and I get fucking creative about what it looks like to grow and heal past this thing into a better space, because hurting people just continues to hurt people.
What's the scariest thing in America? What's the most dangerous thing in America?
What are McDonald's French fries made of?
No.
It's pretty scary.
Black person with a library card. They can't stop. Nobody can stop knowledge. Nobody can stop communication. Nobody can stop clarity of thought. Nobody can stop processing. Nobody can stop community. So we got to build these things. We got to invest in these things. And yeah. I want to say, as somebody who's been working with you, and we're wrapping up for our season finale, but
that's crazy.
It's crazy. And we will be back. The dates will be put out soon. If you haven't followed us already, please subscribe. YouTube.com/The Chaos Twins, or find us on The Chaos Twins on Instagram, on Twitter, on all these things. But I want to say, Sasha, having worked with you and Beyonce Britt in our studio, who's amazing. We love you, Beyonce Britt. Worked with you for the past year. I am so proud of the way in which you activize. I'm so proud of the way in which you address community. I'm so proud of the way in which you address your oppressors. And I say to everyone out there who's making these posts, who's doing these things, whether I agree with you or not, thank God you're doing it. Thank God you're out there doing it. Thank you. Really. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming through and sharing your truth. Because if you don't share your truth, then we don't get anywhere. So please do not take away from this that we are saying, oh God, certain people need something. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, no. It's a consideration of every time you go to do something, can I create more space and love? Can I be an example of the way that I want to see people treated in the way that I hold others accountable? Because that will help all of us be better together. I recognize, and I've said this to you, Nick, I'm like, the way I go about things is not always the way others people go about things. And honestly, sometimes I feel like, I need to step back because I think that voice needs, and it's usually a voice that's got maybe like a little bit of a torch in its hand, because that's not really how I go about things, but I understand the need for it. It's just like, as I offer space, we should all be offering space to try to figure out this thing together. And I will say to you, Nick, I am so grateful coming to the end of this season with you as a person, because I think you're such an example of a listener and of just someone who thinks critically about things, who invites people into conversation. Stop shaking your head. It's what happens. It's what you do. We love you. Okay. And I think we've talked about this space and have said, what I've found and what's important to me about this space is being hopefully an example of how to try to process hard things. So the way you and I engage and the way we've engaged our guests, we've always tried to be one example of how to get in there and have a conversation about a hard thing that leaves everyone feeling empowered to be better and to feel love and empathy. And I'm just so glad to have you as a friend first, and then also as a co-host, to have spaces where we can do that.
Always, my friend. Always. So guys, we love you. Stay safe. We will be back with season 2. And there'll be more excitement and craziness and awesomeness. But
it's gonna be hot girl summer, so maybe we'll have some conversations about my dating life. I don't know.
Yeah, I do have. I have questions about your dating life, but we're gonna save them for season 2. We're gonna save them for season 2.
Cut the feed.
Get out of here. Dump it. Get out. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.